Brandon Weichert, the author of BIOHACKED, China's Race to Control Life. DC Drano's also with us about the failure today to hold Shifty Shift accountable. My point on focusing on the Anna Polina Luna, if you can't hold Shift accountable, how are you going to stop the race to enhance human beings? This is the low-hanging, easy fruit. How are you going to do the tough things if you can't do this? Short break. Back in the warm in a moment.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. It's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We are going to get Rogan O'Hanley, DC Drano, is going to come up and talk about this bill, the failure, the shift thing. Also, we have breaking news from Miami. No, it's not related to President Trump's indictment, although I guess you could say it may be. A new Keebler elf joins the, by the way, I'm going from the sublime to the ridiculous now, okay? A new Keebler elf has joined the presidential race, the mayor of Miami. This is exactly what you need when you're in the early stages of the Third World War. The Chinese Communist Party is coming after you. You've got the administrative state that's just shredded the Constitution. You got an invasion on the southern border. We're in this Ukraine thing is melting down before our eyes. You got the South China Sea. What we need is a glad-handing, happy talk political hack who's a lifetime. His father's a mayor. This kid's never done anything except be a political hack since he was 6 years old. This is exactly what the country needs right now. This is exactly what the country needs. So a new Keebler elf, not a good sign for DeSantis, right? I guess they're polling. I guess Suarez's polling shows that DeSantis, now that he's in the high teens, is not going to quite make it. Okay, we'll do all this when Rogan comes on. We'll get back to the nitty-gritty underbelly of modern American politics, but I want to talk about something deeply important right now, not a new Keebler elf. And the reason the Luna bill on shift, if you can't do the easy things, if you can't do the lowest hanging of the low-hanging fruit, tell me how you're going to do the hard things. Like stand up right now to what's happening in biotechnology and with the tech oligarchs in Silicon Valley. Brandon Weichert joins us. BioHack, China's Race to Control Life. I had him on a couple weeks ago over at Encounter Books. Roger Kimball and the team, absolutely amazing team over there. Really, really incredible books. This thing's important. This book we had Brandon on because it's not just about the bioweapons of biological warfare, which is important enough. This is about the CCP trying to, wait for it in the title, control life. Brandon Weichert is not a fire-breathing, head blowing up wild man like yours truly. When he puts, and Roger Kimball's about as low-key as you can get, when you put control life on the cover, you mean it. How big is this announcement today, Brandon?
It's huge, and they're downplaying it, these scientists are, but this is a big deal because they're basically, as the previous segment suggested, they're basically going to be able to rewrite human DNA from the very beginning to the very end to create life from basic human cells in order, in the case of the previous segment, for gay couples and for couples who can't have it. But more dangerously, once you unleash that power, it's not just going to be for the benign, it will be for the malintent, for the malicious. And that article in The Guardian was very interesting because at the end, I noticed they put a little blurb in there that should have been one of the most important parts, which is that China's doing the same thing, except they're doing it with monkeys. And the reason that's important is because monkeys are the most human-like beings on the planet besides humans. And so that they're playing with the monkey DNA to be able to do this indicates how serious that China is. And lastly, I'll say that China also is leading the world in artificial womb creation, as I note in my book. And you marry all this together, and you're going to see China with Beijing Genomics Institute and Sinogene. Those are the two big corporations over there. They're going to be able to basically engineer life to create, as I like to say, the perfect communist man. And that should scare everyone.
Walk us through that, how that happens. Just give us a minute on the critical path, because you've studied this probably better than anybody of how that happens. Because this announcement was low key, although it's a blockbuster announcement, it's low key. But those that are studying this area realize that this has put us on a trajectory that's going to end in tears. Brandon Weichert.
So basically, they've had capabilities like this for several years now. It's just now they're starting to feel comfortable, come out and do more and more experiments. I think because of the COVID experience, I think that biotech was given a boost unlike any other, and now they're really feeling their oats. And so basically what's going to happen is you're going to get this trickle of benign sounding announcements. And then over the next 3, 5, maybe 10 years, you're suddenly going to see this quantum surge in development where they're going to start doing this with more sophisticated creatures like monkeys. They're already doing that in China, and they're going to start scaling that up so that by the middle of the century, and I know this is what the Chinese explicitly want to do, but I think our firms do too, by the middle of the century, they're doing full-blown human cloning for organ harvesting purposes. But of course, once they get to that point, there's a whole bunch of strategic issues. You could be cloning world leaders. You could be cloning, there's a lot they could do that's very dangerous.
I'm going to take the under on the over and under in 20 on mid-century. Brandon, hang on for 1 second. Joe Allen,
sure thing.
Any closing observation? We're going to have Joe back on tomorrow morning to go through this in more detail. Joe, any closing observations on this announcement out of the Guardian?
Steve, I think what Brandon points out, that this idea of a race between the U.S. and China, a lot of that is what drives not only the investment and the political backing, but just the entire social atmosphere around this. You have those who are obviously appalled, and for good reason, that anyone is doing this at all. But then you have those who really support it. They say that if you don't have the ability to allow everyone to have children, then you are not as free as the rest of the world. Or if you don't have the ability to enhance human beings, to create a sort of high IQ super race, then you're going to fall behind those countries who do create such. And so this notion of a race, it's the same with the AI arms race. That is the rhetorical point that keeps us locked into this.
Yes.
I think that a lot of this, personally, I think a lot of this is overblown in a sense, not in the fact that they're doing it. They are definitely doing it, and they are going to do much more. But I think that there's every reason to believe that the sorts of bizarre, lab-bred mutants that they are intending to create will not be nearly as superior as they're hyping it. And so there's a lot of reason besides just the ethical to slow down or halt all of this. We may just be creating these sorts of bizarre, autistic, emotionless creatures, or just incredibly miserable creatures instead of a superior race. And so all in all, Steve, I think that we are hurtling towards a sort of cultural insanity. What the actual output of that is yet to be determined. But I will say that I, for one, think that anything that can be done to slow it down or stop it or stop support for it is the best path forward.
No, we must, because we haven't thought this through. Joe, real quickly, how do people follow you, sir?
You can find my latest at chroniclesmagazine.org. A deal with the digital devil right at the top. Also, warroom.org under the transhumanism tab, retrospective on Ted Kaczynski. Thank you very much, Steve.
Huge. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for turning around today on the show twice. Back to work, I can tell. Brandon, social media and where they get the book.
Social media, you can follow me on Twitter at WeTheBrandon, and you can get my book anywhere it's sold, online at Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, anywhere there are books sold.
Great work, Brandon. Thank you for changing your schedule around today. Come on, appreciate it.